Our guest for today's podcast defines the word perseverance. Starting life in her journey in Orange County, she would power through the West Coast ranks to earn her spot on Coach Vanderveer's Stanford Cardinal squad. Since then, she's made her impact on various rosters around the WNBA, while being a key piece to teams making deep runs within the EuroLeague and across the world. As she has started her latest chapter in Australia, she looks to continue blazing her own trail while running her own race. Please welcome to the show, Karlie Samuelson.
Thanks, Milan. Happy to be here, guys.
Awesome. No, we're excited to have you. And I know we were just saying, we're in episode 8 now. First 7 episodes have been a hit. We've been excited having guests like your sister, Kelsey Plum in the WNBA, yourself joining us. We've had a few people from the G League ranks, the NBA ranks, all the way to Formula One, as we both are fans of. So this is fun. I mean, it's great having you. Obviously, we mentioned my future sister-in-law, better shooter than me, I can attest. So, it's nice having another shooter on the pod.
Yeah, we need a competition, you, me, and Lou. Really see how it goes.
We'll cut that. We'll cut that into the end of the episode. No, but for me, I mean, just kind of quick update. And like we say, with the Run Your Own Race podcast and all of our socials, as we continue to push content out and continue to bring you more and more episodes, please like, subscribe, comment here on the YouTube platform. All these episodes will be live on your streaming platforms, as well as our social content across the social channels. So we're excited to continue to uplift, share these stories. And Karlie, I think yours is one that I've gotten to know personally over the past 2-3 years. I know there's a lot of similarities, I feel like, between your story and the story that I'm continuing to write. So I want to just really highlight your journey, kind of being overlooked and a little undervalued at times. I know the value you bring, not just on a basketball court, but in life, to any work environment. I get to see that on a day-to-day basis. But Malad may not know these things, and some of our listeners and girls who are coming up the ranks may not know your story. So hopefully we can really dive into it and give you a platform to continue to share, what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is one of my favorite shirts. So I love that. I love the message you bring in. And you and I have talks all the time, Dev, about like what we're going through. I know I'm like a little bit older in my career than you, but it's like I feel like we're on similar paths in a way, and we talk a lot about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna let Malad kind of take the reins, and we can start from the beginning like we always do. But as you see fit and where you see kind of where you can input any point in your journey, please do, and we'll just kind of take it from there.
So I think the place that we always like to start is the very beginning. So take us back to the OC, take us back to growing up, not only with Katie Lou, but your other family members who are all highly competitive. Take us back to Edison, take us back to Santa Ana, take us back to the very beginning and tell us what that experience was like.
Yeah, I mean, Devin, Malad, you probably already know too. You guys had Katie Lou on the podcast, but we're a very tight-knit, close basketball family from the start. Both my parents played. Again, Dev, you're part of the family, so you know the whole family story. But I was middle child, so I definitely, when people talk about middle child syndrome, I think I definitely had that growing up and probably didn't notice it till later. But playing with both Bonnie, who was a baller back in the day, my older sister, and then Lou, I feel like I just loved to pass to them. And I was also always shorter than them, which is why I play a little smaller than I am, I think. I was always the short one passing them the ball. But yeah, competitive family from the start. I mean, I don't know life without basketball.
I always think about people who come from families where like their parents either were pro athletes or former D1, D2 athletes, whatever it is, right? Like, how does that kind of like start your mindset, or how does that affect your mindset at a young age? I'm talking about like ages 5 through like 10. How do you did you notice something was different from like other kids, or is it something that you only reflect on now?
I think I probably wasn't as appreciative as I should have been of what my parents were doing for all 3 of us girls. And I'm very grateful they're teachers. So when we were off of school, they were off as well. So I think that was like key to us spending so much time in sport, and then their, willingness to spend their time and money to have us play club, whatever. But I think from like the very young age, I'm really grateful to my parents to putting us in different sports. Like we were very like, we're a basketball family, but they did put us in like soccer, played a little baseball, hated it. We did dance. I think Lou did a little ballet. Bonnie did tap. I was in jazz a little bit, but so I think they did a good job of honestly letting us pick what we like the best. Obviously, when your parents like a sport the best, you kind of like it too because you want to make them happy. But Bonnie kind of chose basketball and we went from there. But again, like you said, I don't know if I really understood that until I was older, how much they put in to get us where we are today.
Yeah. So I know one of your parents played like netball. Did any of you guys like pick that up at all or no?
No, I've only seen like clips of netball. So my mom is from England. We're 50% British. My dad played over there, met her, brought her back home, but she played netball and basketball. So I played for the Great Britain national team, and Lou plays for Team USA, which I think is a super cool story. Like you have two sisters that are damn near the same age playing for two different countries. I think it's sick. But I think my mom was pretty proud of that. Like she came over to England when I first started playing for GB, like 3 years ago. It was her first time going back in 23 years. Like she had not returned to her home country for that long. And she was like showing me where her first apartment was, like where like she met my dad. It was really cool. But
I've never heard that story.
Yeah. Like it was the first time, and I'm the only one that has gotten to be over there with her because I'm the only one that plays for the Great Britain national team. So it was the only opportunity, but it was really cool. And like way later in life, I learned a lot more about my parents that I didn't know, like more about like where she's from. But again, I saw no netball. I still don't know what netball is all about. That's a foreign sport to me still.
Yeah,
pickleball. At this point, we might as well make a pickleball team and have
pickleball. Yeah, we should start a team. I think so.
Nah, that's cool. So transitioning a little bit from like, I guess just like childhood, you're competing at a high level, whether it's at Edison or Mater Dei. I think Mater Dei is the correct pronunciation. It took a while to go from Maitre D.
Yeah, we went from episode 1 where we go in Mater D, so now we got the other Stanford.
Yeah, I think we were like at Maitre D, and then we were at like Mater D or Mater Dei. But
like we're going to Notre Dame.
Yeah, right. Like, but tell us a little bit about that experience. I mean, it feels like you and everybody in your family has been like competing at an elite level since like birth. So, give us a little bit of insight what that experience was like. And also, how did that kind of prepare you for Stanford?
Yeah. So I went to Edison for 3 years, transferred to Mater Dei my senior year. So I was lucky to be the middle child. I played 2 years with Bonnie and 2 years with Lou. So I always had a sister, which, it was really cool. But again, Bonnie got her jersey retired at Edison. I mean, and so she was like the shit she was everything in high school. So again, I just like came in and I wanted to be like her. And when I played with her, like give her the ball, do my thing, but around her. And then it's funny because when Lou then came into high school, it was the same thing, even though she was younger than me. Yeah. Like she's just a baller, and I think it's because she played up, but from my own perspective, I think that I still like took on that role because it was a different sister, but she was really good at basketball. So I think I really enjoy like elevating the people around me with like the role that I play. I think that's how I became who I am now as a professional basketball player, was from playing with Bonnie and Lou in high school. Even though at different times, I think like adjusting to whoever's around me, I think I do pretty well.
Wow. Yo, I mean, and if you watch clips, if you know your game, I mean, it's cool for you to hear that. Like, you're the middle child. You said, like, kind of growing up, you like passing to your siblings, your sisters. You've had an opportunity, which I feel like not a lot of families have, not only just playing with their siblings, but like all 3 of you are elite. And we'll get into your career. We know about Katie Lou's. I mean, you can obviously give Bonnie as much credit as you want, but she had a great career in her own right. So it's like you didn't just get like lost in the sauce or lost in the middle. Like you elevated both of them, and in part you could probably give a lot of their success as well to having a sister who wasn't kind of envious, had greed or jealousy and wanted her own, but like elevated them while building their own career. So like, that's how I feel like from watching you, a lot of the way that you've played and the selfless nature on offense, on defense, like really playing with passion and joy to see others succeed. Like, and that's very rare, right? So I think transitioning from that experience playing with both sisters, like talk a little bit about your recruiting process, and kind of what that was like getting recruited by obviously legendary coaches. And if you have any cool or funny stories in your recruiting process that you want to share, now's the time.
Yeah, I've been asked this before, but my recruiting process was extremely short because I knew I wanted to go to Stanford. And, Bonnie went to Stanford before me. So, I just followed my sister to Stanford, which I did want to be with Bonnie. So that's part of it. But Stanford is an incredible school in its own right, like obviously academically and basketball, playing for Tara. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me. It wasn't like I really didn't even think about other schools, to be honest. So my recruiting process was very, if I got offered to Stanford, I was going to go.
Very easy.
Yeah. Did you even consider, was there any other school that you even were remotely considering?
Yeah. Well, when Bonnie did her recruiting process, I went on all of it with her. It was almost like we did it together.
Okay.
So she went on officials to Duke, to UConn, all the way. I went all the way with her across the country with my parents. Where else did she go? Maybe UCLA. And I almost thought about UCLA too. So I saw the schools. I kind of treated Bonnie's recruiting process as my own.
Okay.
So I got to see other things. I wasn't just a blind eye on one thing, because it's always good to see your other options. You don't want to hone in on one thing without knowing if that's where you fit best. But I just felt good at Stanford. I knew it was a place for me.
Did you did you even think about the idea of not playing with one of your sisters in college?
That's a good question. No, not in the recruiting process and not at the start. And then when Lou was thinking about where she was going, and Lou and I didn't talk that much once I went to college, because you know how college is, it's so busy. I was in my own world. She was averaging 30, and I didn't even have access to watch the games. I don't know how at that time. I would watch them later, but yeah. She's killing, getting Gatorade National Player of the Year, and I was doing my thing. And then I would talk to her oh, where are you gonna go to college? And she dabbled the idea in front of me that she was thinking about going across the country, or at least not to Stanford. And I was so disappointed. I wasn't surprised, but I was so disappointed, because it would be the first time. Well, I don't know if I would ever play with her again, right? Ever. Right. And then it would be the first time that once Bonnie graduated, I would be on my own on a team in the past 8 years. So I didn't even think about that until Lou started her recruiting process.
We'll put a pin in that and note that one for later, because as the conversation's flowing, we obviously know what the story leads us to. Like you said, once Bonnie's gone, Karlie's the middle child who's always had a sibling, is on her own. How do you adjust that? And how did you adjust to that? Without knowing what would happen in the future, which clearly, we've had some opportunities in the States, overseas, for you guys to come back and kind of reunite. But what was that? Was it your junior and senior year where it was out without Bonnie? Talk about the transition from an underclassman with an older sister on the team to now, being an upperclassman with freshmen probably looking up to you as maybe a leader now, and just talk about that Stanford experience.
Yeah. From the moment I got to Stanford, I really admired Tara and the coaches, and just as hard as it was, and I could not go back and do college ever again because it was so hard, but the level that they held us to, the standard of everything, it was so difficult, but it made everything that we earned so worth it, But from the beginning, I really bought in to what Tara was coaching, and I bought into the program. It was really important to me. And so when Bonnie left, I actually was captain my junior and senior year. So I was one of the three captains for my whole upperclassmen as soon as Bonnie left. And I really think I took on that role. I was ready for it too. Bonnie was gone. So it was a nice step for me. Okay, I'm captain. Let me take this seriously and be a leader of the team. And I don't know. I think just buying in to it, helped me. You know what I mean? If you really care about something, then I don't know, you're going to put everything into it.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's a different level of like detail, different level of care. But I think, one thing, kind of going back to the whole undergrad versus I guess not undergrad, but underclassmen versus somebody who's a little bit more senior. You had real early success. You guys go to the Final Four in year one. And then you also go to the Final Four in your senior year. But I think like everyone can like speak to growth really well when they have success or like when they're on a high. But what did you kind of learn in those like two transition years, right? Like the last year with your sister in your sophomore year, and that first year when you were like you're not by yourself, right? You're on a team, but the first year where you're not playing with one of your sisters in almost a decade, right? Like what did you learn about yourself in that moment?
That year, specifically off the court, was really difficult for me because Bonnie was my best friend and Bonnie's friends were my best friends. So socially, like growing up off the court was something that I had to do. And I think it helped me be a better leader on the court. If you're just always with your sister, always, you can kind of hide behind that. Like, oh, hey, this is my sister, Karlie. And then I'm like there. But like growing into myself as a person, honestly, helped me on the court. So I think just like, don't be afraid to be independent, like especially when you're thinking about looking at schools and you have siblings or maybe your best friend. Like sometimes it's really good to break off because otherwise you're not going to grow.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, also I think, Coach Vanderveer is a pretty big influence as well, right? Whether you're in a transition as like a person or as a player. What kind of impact did like her style have on you on and off the floor, specifically during that like those two transition years?
Yeah, I think your freshman year is just like a whirlwind because you don't know what's going on, and then you kind of settle into like you start seeing what the coaches are coaching and like what they do and why they do it. I think what Tara taught me the most about life is if you are passionate about something. Or if you want to be good at something, you need to be passionate about it and put everything into it. Otherwise, like, what's the point of doing it? She loves coaching. She doesn't need to coach though. Like she can do whatever she wants, but she loves coaching and she puts everything into it. And if you devote so much time, but you don't put everything into it, then it's kind of just a waste. So I don't know. I try to take that off the court too. Like if I'm going to do something, I want to like wholeheartedly do it. And that's why I show emotion on the court too. Like I think I'm gonna celebrate a layup. I'm gonna celebrate a free throw because why not?
Yeah, literally. It could be your last. Like I mean, you're out here making sacrifices clearly, and we can talk about that word and that theme, not just in basketball, but like I think what I'm starting to like unwrap a little bit, and I think what you're sharing, which is important for people who may have siblings who are experiencing success, and not saying that you are not, but like a mindset of I can lean on Bonnie, I can lean on Katie Lou, but like you said, a really important, aspect of like a transition and being independent, and the power in that, and the vulnerability in that, where you can learn and find more about yourself. So I think, sticking to the Stanford kind of experience, you obviously, like you said, went to multiple Final Fours, but talk about just like your commitment, like you said, your buy-in. And I mean, obviously I know there may be a notebook laying somewhere, with plays and notes. Like talk about like your love specifically, like you talked about showing emotion on the court, but like your focus and your attention to detail. Talk about, maybe some of the things that you did just that no one told you to do, but that you love to do at Stanford.
Until like the end of my senior year, I had no plans to play after. That wasn't a goal of mine to play professionally. Throughout Stanford, like my last 2 seasons, I really fell in love with the game and I pictured myself coaching because I really loved how Stanford was coached and what Tara did and everything. And that's why I kept notebook of plays. I just love basketball. Like I love how it's played. I love the team aspect of it. Like every player on the court can be different, but it's how they mesh together. Like it's awesome. What was the question? I lost track.
It's mostly like your buy-in, like the attention to detail. Like you went out of your way to write these plays down. So like, just talk about your experience. Like,
I had a point to my story. Oh no, this is what I was gonna say. Was buying in. Yeah, I remember now. you said like how hard I bought in. What I've learned is I bought into the team so much also that I think that I lost myself a little bit. And when I went from my growth at Stanford and then I was kind of transitioning into pro when I went to my first camp, like I learned you got to buy into yourself too. And the biggest thing that I've gotten better at is you don't need to joke about like make digs at yourself. I would always joke like, oh, I can't do that. Like, oh, I'm not, because I can't jump, or like I still do that, but I did it too much to the point where I was bringing myself down. And if you're not bringing yourself up, who's going to bring yourself up?
Give me another example. Like, give me like a more real world example. Like, so I feel like I can see where you're coming from.
I would almost like outside of the court or just in.
Yeah, with basketball, like, because I feel like the things we say to ourselves holds a lot of power and value, especially in a situation like you and I have been in, where it's like, damn, like, am I really going to make this team? Like, maybe I'll just like use kind of like comic relief or self-degradation or whatever the word is to insulate yourself and like protect yourself from potential failure or setback, like, exactly. I feel like that's where you're going. I feel like that's where you're going.
Exactly. I'll joke about something before it happens for fear that it might happen or for fear of failure. So I would like be like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not closing out on her because I can't guard her, or like, yeah, because I don't get rebounds. I'll never get that. Like, why am I saying that? Why am I putting that out there? It's not funny, first of all. And second of all, it's not true. I actually think that I can do great on a closeout. I can box out and get the rebound. Maybe I can't jump.
You can guard anyone. She's guarded Brianna Stewart at the highest level in EuroLeague. She got scored on Diana. Diana's like all-time like leading points, but she's guarding Diana because they know she can. Like, come on now, like, give yourself some credit.
For sure, exactly. And it's like, you got to be your biggest fan. Like, it's hard out there. Like, people are looking for things to bring you down. So that's the biggest thing I've learned since graduating from Stanford is I don't actually do that anymore. Like, I'll do it to my close friends maybe, or myself. And then I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. I recognize it, but like, you got to be your own biggest fan, because otherwise no one will be.
Kind of touching a little bit on Tara, that kind of closing the chapter on that experience. Like, what would you say to younger you or someone who's going through the recruiting process and is between a Tara coach Stanford and X, Y, or Z, like based on your personal experience, what's the big selling point for Stanford?
Well, Stanford, they sold it as a sisterhood, which I think it really is. And it really felt like that.
In her case, for sure.
Yeah. But when Bonnie was being recruited, the Gumukes were there. So Neka and Shanae, again, actual sisters. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if that's where it started, but it actually became that. And even when Bonnie left, I still feel to this day my senior year Stanford team, which Bonnie wasn't on, is one of my favorite teams I've ever played for. And it really felt like a family. So wow. I think when the culture is like that and you feel that when you go visit on your recruiting visits, like really, really see like the vibe between the teammates and between players that play a lot, players that don't, players that are older, players that are younger, like really feel that out and see that dynamic. Cause that for me was big. And if I'm like happy and feeling good with my teammates, like play better and I'm happier.
Yeah. And you make sacrifices for each other.
So I think with the Stanford chapter closing, let's look at 2017. We just talked about the highs, right? So let's talk about a real world issue. 2017, you go undrafted, sign with the Sparks, but you have a foot injury. And then you have to make this drastic change to go from potentially being in the WNBA to now going to Serie A in Italy. Give us an idea of what your mental model is, where your mind is at. What are you thinking? For somebody who originally didn't even want to necessarily play pro basketball, you're on the cusp of the highest level, and now you're in a completely different country, a completely different continent.
This is why I love Run Your Own Race, because it really is so different for everyone. Like, your journey is so specific, and I think back on my basketball journey, and there's so many specific things that have kept me playing, and without them, I wouldn't be playing. When I got invited to Sparks camp, I was thrilled and also laughing because I was like, well, let me go try to make a team. Like it was just like a really cool thing, you know? And I went and I killed. Like I still think to this day it's the best I've ever shot in my life. Like coming from my senior year at Stanford, I think I shot 50% that season, like ridiculous. And I made everything in camp. So I was gonna make that roster as an undrafted player that nobody thought was. Like it was huge, especially like for me, I was like, wow. And I felt it too. And then 2 days before rosters were due, we had our last preseason game. Someone fell on my foot sideways and I was like, oh, that was weird. And I ran down the court and like my foot cracked like a knuckle pop in the middle of it. And I was like, and so I had a broken foot and I got cut, like, cause I wasn't on roster. It was 2 days before rosters were due. And then I had workers' comp from getting hurt in camp, but no job, no salary, you know, like I'm out of college. I almost make the team. I thought I made the team and then I broke my foot. But that being said, I knew I could do it then, you know, from being so excited to just go participate in camp to like, oh shit, I can make the team. That's why I think I went to go play in Italy. Like without that, if I just got cut, I don't know if I would still be playing.
Did you rehab in Italy?
No, the camp was in May and then I had all of summer to then in the fall was the start of
So what was it like being pretty much, I'm assuming, in LA doing your rehab? Like, were you back home in Orange County doing rehab? You just got waived from a team, like you said. It would start off like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm at camp to be like, yo, I'm balling. Like, I can be on this team to now being, because I know what it's like being on the sidelines, going through rehab, knowing like, yo, I belong. So like, what was that like? Was it kind of just like, cool, I'm going to keep playing and see where this thing takes me? Were you a little like bitter, like being like 45 minutes down the road with someone you probably, damn, like I deserve that spot? Like talk through those like raw emotions. So we know, like, as we build through your story, how maybe we can kind of see your growth as you mature and experience more success, failure. So what was your mindset then?
Definitely not bitter because I broke my foot. So I knew I wasn't going to make the roster being who I was, like undrafted, whatever. Disappointed for sure the most, but then really hopeful, like really, really like, because when it happened and they waived me, they were like, you need to come back next year. Like they were like adamant about it. And so I was like, I'm gonna do this. I was disappointed, but I was like, I was confident and hopeful. And I was super ready to like get my boot off, train for Italy and go kill in Italy, specifically to go back to Sparks camp. Like that was I remember I had this is so cliche and silly, but I had like this WNBA sports bra with the old orange WNBA logo that actually like peeled off when it was older. And I had this logo and I put it in my wallet and I brought it with me to Italy. And I like was like, I'm gonna make the team. Like I'm gonna be in the WNBA. And I know that was because I knew I was going to make the team and something just happened out of my control. But then I don't know. So I was disappointed, but hopeful.
Yeah, that's powerful. And Drew, Malad, clip it, the whole thing, because it gave me chills and like literally just like lit a fire in me because I know all of those feelings. A perfect combination of disappointment, like damn, out of my control. But then like, yo, if it was more in my control and I didn't leave it to chance or the universe didn't set me down, like they were about to have to make a tough decision. And even if they would have waived you, you're like, I earned that. Like I deserve that. So like that perfect balance between disappointment, maybe some frustration, whatever, that you it's more like your fire, and then the confidence as well as hope. Like when you said hopeful, like I got chills because it was like there's something connected between your mind, your heart, and like the spirit that transcends everything, that you're like, I'm going on this path that is unknown, uncertain, and I'll be back. Like that's tough.
I feel like all those adjectives, like frustrated, disappointed, frustrated, hopeful, and confident, I swear equals hungry. Like I feel like you can't be hungry without 3 or 4 of those things.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, I feel like that defines like someone that's hungry.
Boom, 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 equals this. Like that's that right there. I love it.
So I mean, so the mission is to get back to the league, obviously. You go, you kill. How does that enrollment process, or how does that process of you becoming one of the 144 happen? It happens with LA. You make your WNBA debut with them, but how did that actually come into fruition?
Yeah, so I went overseas to Italy, and I absolutely hated it. I think a lot of athletes experience this when they first go overseas. It's really a culture shock, and I was like really proud of myself. I remember when I was flying over there and I landed, and this Italian doctor that spoke no English picked me up, and we were like riding through to my little village. I was like, I did this. I was like looking around. I remember specifically.
Oh,
and then it's just difficult. Like we weren't doing good. We lost almost every game. I did okay. Like, and I just felt like this is professional basketball. Like, I don't know if this is for me. Like, I was away from my family. So I left at Christmas and took a break for a hot second. And then I was like, you know what? I'm training for this camp. So I was at home training for this camp in May from January till the camp was April. So 3 months I was training. Like, it was my daily goal. I had nothing else going on at the time. So I think that helped me make the squad. Like, I was ready going into camp. I actually didn't do as well as the year before because I shot like crazy the year before. But once you build out a reputation with someone and they knew, you know, who I was, how I played, I brought other things. I think I was in great shape. Like, defense was good, solid. And all I had to do really, and I felt this way because I knew the coach, I knew I was going to make it last year, is just bring something more than what I did previously. And I felt like I did that. And of course it's tight. There's only 12 spots. It was still tight, but I made it. And either way though, I knew I did everything I could. So if I got waived, then it would have sucked. But I think I was meant to make that team.
Yeah. You were, and you did. What? Like, one of 144. Like in the NBA, we talk about one of 450. That's a like a legendary fraternity in our case that you're in. And like I am one of 450. Like, not at the moment, but at one point or another, I'm one of 450. And it's like there's power in that. We talk about the sisterhood of Stanford, which reminded me a lot of the brotherhood at Duke. And you know, like both programs, coaches, but historically are so great. But the WNBA and the NBA, like there's nothing on this planet like it. And mind you, a quick side note, this is the only in probably the history of podcasting time where the host of a podcast is going to be in the guest of the pod's bedroom, interviewing the guest half a world
away. You're in my room. That's my work spot. That's right. That's too funny. That for sure will never happen in the history of the podcast.
This is historic podcast. A lot of good
things happen right there. I do a lot of work right there.
One of 450. We are in Karlie Samuelson's bedroom hosting the pod while she is in Australia. I've never seen anything like it. But my point is, one of 450 is special. And like the moment I got that call and like made the team and got my uniform was like, you're crying, like you're like, wow. But that pie of 450 is bigger than 144. So like you talked about making that roster, like, but talk about, obviously it was difficult, but like in general, like it's a 12-woman roster of 12 teams, 144 spots. Like, really kind of tap in and explain to people who are listening who may not watch the W or understand the dynamics, like how difficult that is.
It's difficult. And I know you're playing in the G League right now. So at least you can play in a team setting right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no G League for the WNBA. So if you get cut, it's changing a little bit. But at the time, my time, if you got cut, you had to decide where you're going to go play overseas if you wanted to keep playing. And then you had to train all summer. Like, I'm lucky to have Cliff and Jason, most amazing trainers ever. But a lot of people don't have access, or maybe don't have time, finances. Maybe they have to find a summer job. A lot of women, I'm saying, a lot of women that don't have other leagues to play in. So when you get cut from the W, especially if you're close, or if you get cut early, whatever.
Yeah.
You're out of a job until or out of a basketball job until you're going overseas. It was the only option. Now there's athletes unlimited and some other things, but that's hard. Like, especially as someone that doesn't want to go overseas, you're only going because you want to keep playing. Like,
Yeah.
Of course, like there's going to be really amazing experiences, which I had, but some people are very much homebodies or don't want to leave the country. But if you want to keep playing, that's what you have to do. If you don't make this 12-person, 144 spot league, which vets stay in, and then you keep the drafted rookies. And so everyone in between in the middle spot usually gets pushed out, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've seen, recently, obviously Kelsey Plum kind of spoke out about, at least the kind of equal, if not equitable pay and discrepancy between the two leagues. But I think as well, it's also a numbers game from the amount of talent that there is coming out of college, the amount of talent that there is as free agents like yourself, and there just not being enough spots. So like, I mean, let's just say you have an unlimited amount of resources, which is not the case. But like, how do you see the expansion of the league, or what steps do you see, let's just say in the next 5 years, that the W can make for there to be more options and just more jobs? And it's something we spoke about time and time again, offline, and it's stuff that you kind of work on in your other job, which we'll touch base on here soon as well, and give them a shout out. But just give me your thoughts on just the best way and best practices to continue to grow the league.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult because there's so many things that need to grow. Like, even for the 144 spots now, it needs to get better. Like salaries, everything. But then from my own perspective, as someone that's out of a job, I would like more job opportunities, like literal opportunities, whether it's more roster spots or more teams. Like, I think that for me would be number one, just more people having a job, having a physical job, because I turned 26 2 summers ago. I was off my dad's health insurance, and I didn't know I got cut from WNBA. And I was like, that was the most adult thing I ever had to do. I was like,
right.
I guess I need to apply for health insurance, because I knew I was going overseas, but I didn't want to be uninsured for the summer.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing. Like, you get cut from WNBA on randomly, or whether it's early on or mid-season. It's tough.
I think you actually are segueing perfectly into something that we think about a lot, right? Like, I think as a professional athlete, specifically in the spot that you're in, right, there's a lot of nuances. There's a lot of difficult details you actually have to work through that nobody else really is aware of, right? So aside from being cut off of health insurance at 26, there's the moving, this inevitable feeling of potential change that is always on the horizon. Can you speak to how that actually makes you feel, how that actually impacts your mental health? What are some of the other changes that, or some of the other nuances that none of us actually see?
I've been on a lot of injury hardship contracts, which specifically are so it's when a team gets under 10 healthy players, you can sign someone to an injury hardship until whatever players are injured, you reach 10 and then you're cut. So that itself is all right, you're I come in, you don't know if you're going to be there for 2 days, 2 weeks, or 2 months. It depends on the injury. And I've been on a 2.5-month injury hardship with the Sparks. I've been on a 2-day injury hardship because someone had COVID with Phoenix this summer. So it's kind of the Sparks for me was a little bit better because I was at home. So I didn't have to travel somewhere, I was at home. But again, I don't know when I'm going to lose my job. I don't know when I'm not going to be with the team. I have no idea. So mentally, that's draining, actually, to be able to perform and try to show why I should be in the league while I'm just getting incorporated to a team and not knowing how long I'm going to stay. It's a weird thing. You're just a placeholder, but you want to show what you can do and be your best. But every time you get a chance, the most minutes I've ever played has been when I'm on an injury hardship because people are injured. So the most, when I've been on a full roster, I think I average 3 minutes a game. When I've been on an injury hardship, I've averaged over 20 probably. And it's just that takes a lot of mental strength and physical too, because you got to stay in shape, but mentally to be able to join a team. Like, I commend you, Devin, for what you do. And I commend when I see anybody that comes into these WNBA teams and does well off an injury hardship, that is hard. Mm-hmm. And that is a testament to like them staying mentally prepared, like after they got cut.
Yeah. What are like, I guess, some of your mental strategies, if that's like probably the appropriate term, to like kind of just keep going, even though, you know, you don't know what that deadline is, right? Like you said, 2 days, 2 months, the whole season, like you just don't know. Like, how do you just get through it? Do you just look at it every day as just like one day at a time, just stacking one brick at a time? Or, you know, how do you actually get through it? Because that I feel like a lot of people would struggle with. I feel like unknowns and inevitabilities people struggle with in general. So like, how do you actually like wrap your mind around it? And how do you like just find a way to find joy in each day, given all those circumstances?
Yeah, I think like there's two separate times, like when I'm on the injury hardship contract or a temporary contract, or I'm not on a contract. So when I'm on a team, I really like try not to focus on the unknown and just savor the day. Like, I got called into the Sparks and I was out of the blue. I was on my couch watching games, and then the next day I was in practice with Simone Augustus rebounding for me. It was like the coolest thing ever to me. So like staying, you know, calm, but like in the moment, like realizing how cool it is and how like special. I've saved every one of my jerseys. Like I really did savor I do savor every day that I'm on a roster and be able to suit up. It's really cool.
I'm looking for your jerseys. I'm like, where are they?
They're under the bed, actually. The hardest thing for me was this last summer was not being on a team, but then like getting a couple calls like, oh, maybe we'll want you, you know, be ready. That is hard. Like, staying ready when you're not on a team is really hard mentally. And the way that I do it is then I try not to train. I try not to train in the summer to be ready for maybe a call. I train because I want to train. I train because I want to get better. And I have an overseas season coming. Like, I know I'm still a basketball player. Like, I'm still playing. But every day in the summer, I'm not training like hoping of course I'm hoping, but I'm not training for that call. I'm training to get better. And that's how I can find joy in my training. Because if I'm training every day waiting for a call, I'll lose my mind and I won't find any joy in it. And I'll hate going to the gym. Like, so mentally, like you said, Milad, like, how do you find joy in it? You just got like my perspective of why I'm doing it. Like, it's for me to get better as a player, because I'm currently still a basketball player. I'm not, if I'm in the WNBA or not, that doesn't change like how I'm going to take the day.
And it doesn't define you. When you get these calls, the indecision that a team has that you have no control over, it's like, yeah, I mean, if you call, I think you're making the right decision. If you're not, guess what? I'm going to the gym regardless, because I love this. As you stated, you know, like, you really have a love and a passion for it. I do have a fun story of me and Karlie, and it's, you know, I think you're on LA, you're on these hardship 7 days or whatever it is. You're on the hardship because someone's injured. And to her point, it's like, at any moment, this player can come off of the injured list. They're back and they're healthy. And it's like, are you coming back? It's like, no, I'm gonna take another day. So now you're on a road trip or something like that, you know? And so you can kind of talk to that situation. But we had a moment, obviously, in for a couple of weeks or a month, where she ended up getting picked up by the Seattle Storm, her and her sister. Now, finally, I think for the first time, are teammates in the States. I think you had already been teammates in Avenida, and she can speak to more of, you know, the details of this, but we're practicing. I'm watching Katie Lou, Karlie practice with two of the greatest women's basketball players, period, in the history of the game, and Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart. I'm coming back from an ankle injury, and Karlie's like, look, I'm in the third group, I just got here. DC, let's play some ones, right? And so we're just playing. I'm trying to get healthy. You know, she's blowing by me. You know, she's making shots, and I'm trying to dunk on her. Like, literally, just like, she's trying to, like, she's saying everything she's saying is true, and it's like, I could be worried about the situation, not playing and playing. And she's like, let's just play some ones, have fun. Like, it was such a cool moment for me. It was like one of my first times, and I'm here trying to help her. It's like, it's your season. I'm trying to get healthy. But like, talk about like kind of the transition, and if you have any just like more specific stories of like being on a hardship and not knowing when your last day will be, you know, the indecision of all that, and kind of, you know, your perspective on the story we're playing one-on-one.
Yeah, I remember that specifically. And you were rehabbing. I mean, it was kind of a nice moment because it was for me to get some reps in and then for you to kind of feel yourself out. It was good. And I felt, I don't know, it was just like that whole Seattle situation was, it's almost like a dream to me because I never thought that I was going to play with Lou in the WNBA. And then I was just there. I actually like went with LA to New York on a trip, got cut there because the girl was healthy, and then I got waived, and then we followed Seattle on their road trip, and then I just got picked up by Seattle and then left with them. So I never went back home. I just was then to Seattle and just wore all Lou's clothes. It was the craziest thing. Like
crazy. And then you ended up with like a 3-story apartment.
Yes, literally a 3-story Airbnb, beautiful view of Seattle. Again, it felt like a dream. It was sick.
Yeah.
It was sick. No, but just the other thing about as I'm running my own race, I'm just taking it as it comes and really, really enjoying like the people I'm meeting in the process and not worrying about the stuff that I can't control. And I think I've done a really good job of that the past few years. Like I've found like really loved where I was in Spain and playing with Lou. It was some of like the best basketball and best times of my professional career for sure. And then WNBA, I just really was soaking in the people I was meeting and the experiences that I was taking.
And speaking of your experiences, they've kind of taken you all over the world, right? Like you've been able to see, now you're in Australia, Italy, Spain, Belgium, obviously the States, but you know, what kind of impact has that had? Like, I feel like you know, we're talking about your journey, you're definitely more present to your experience. You're just more appreciative of each day, regardless of where you are. Do you think being in different cultures, being in different places, being vulnerable in those places has like had an impact on like how you show up in every single day, how you're present in every single day?
For sure. Like, I think in terms of basketball, playing all over the world, I've been on shitty teams, like losing seasons. I've been on medium teams. I've been on where we won everything. And I think it's important to have those experiences because I see what works, what doesn't, and how I am as a person in a losing time of my life or a season, and then in a winning time. And just, it's all part of the journey. Like it's taking, like you said, Milan, literally each day. And I don't know, like overseas sometimes gets like a negative light, like, oh, I don't want to go overseas, this and that. Some of the best experiences I've ever had. And obviously I get to play on full teams for full season instead of in and out of the W. So I think that's more rewarding when you start with the team and you build and you can like win at the end. But yeah, I have friends all over the world. I have like really close Spanish friends. I got to play with Lou in different countries. And just seeing their perspectives on basketball, like there's different ways to play basketball. Like there's different styles of basketball. There's different things that people deal with in life while they're playing basketball. There's moms like in different countries that are traveling around playing EuroLeague with kids. Like it's pretty wild to me and it's pretty incredible. But yeah, like you said, I think it has helped me to slow down, stay in the moment and like enjoy where I'm at and really like get to know the people around me. And like I said, from the Stanford experience, like just do everything that I'm doing like wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Do you have a specific overseas, whether it's a country, team, situation that kind of like sits with you in your heart, probably at more like closer to the top of the ranks?
Oh, my team in Spain, the 2 years I played with Lou, like her and my teammates, we were really successful, which always helps. But even in our some of the losses, like we were like a tight knit family. Like the style of basketball we played. I mean, I think it helps that I was with Lou because like Lou and I could talk about everything and we were on the court a lot together. So it helps when someone has your best interest at heart out there, you know. But just, I think that really does help though, when you get to know the people around you and make real relationships wherever you are, whether it's your teammates, staff, or like, around the club or around the city. I think it helps you stay in the moment, because if you stay disconnected, then you kind of are in your own head, and you want to be somewhere else. I think like meeting and making real relationships around me really helped me like be present and enjoy it.
I will say, I mean, like I said, this is an unprecedented episode. We have Karlie Samuelson sitting in Townsville, Australia,
Townsville Fire.
with the Townsville Fire right now, on fire, in Australia, doing her thing, in the WNBL. Is that correct? WNBL. We are hosting the podcast live in Huntington Beach, California, in Karlie Samuelson's bedroom. This is unprecedented in podcasting history. I don't think it will ever be done again. And like I said, this is a personal episode. Karlie will be my future sister-in-law. I remember when she was in Spain, giving her the call saying, Karlie, are you free? Is your sister around? She's like, no. I was like, all right, good. I got some news I want to share with you. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I already asked your dad for his blessing. He said yes, but I just want to, let you know and need all your support and help. I want to, propose to your sister and make her my wife. And I remember that.
Oh my God. I got goosebumps, and you built it up just like that. And I was like, oh my God.
Is this happening?
I remember that. Yeah.
Karlie was the best wingman. I heard she was running through a plaza with like a teddy bear and kept the secret.
Let me tell you guys something. The single people on teams, overseas teams in particular, celebrate Valentine's Day more than anyone. They are getting all the coupled up teammates, like with distance boyfriends, distance girlfriends. We're the ones running around and getting the gifts. Yes, I ran across the plaza with people watching me with the giant teddy bear. I saw it. You asked for chocolate, you were like, get whatever. I saw this bear. I couldn't leave it. I need the bear. I sprinted before Lou got to her apartment and set that up beautifully.
So good. No, but literally, like everything she's talking about, from being in the moment and how she's, handled being on the fringe more or less in the WNBA, which I will go as far as saying is the hardest league to make and to stick in the league, in terms of professional sports. It's just the numbers, are not really in anyone's favor. I feel like either 60-80% of the draft class will stick, which messes up all the free agents, or they get drafted and they're cut, and left kind of to the wind. But I've seen, as long as I've known you, positive mindset, positive approach, consistent work ethic, the love, passion, energy that you pour into the people around you, like you said, when you play with your sisters, as well as, the energy and love you pour into yourself on the court. You're one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter I've ever gotten a chance to work out with, see play. We can go pull up tweets where I am on the Karlie Samuelson bandwagon, like get her in the W. These teams don't know what they're missing out on. I've learned a lot as a player and a person from you, just in terms of, staying consistent and being ready. Things may not go my way, in terms of the politics of the league, in terms of, decision makers, the things out of your control. So I will, tip my hat off to you, give you a lot of credit, for my journey, the race that I'm running, and everything that I've learned from you. So the episode itself, has been special. It's been unique, like I said, but we end it one way, and the only way we know how is to have you speak on Run Your Own Race, what it means to you, and how you're best running your race, and how you will continue to run your race moving forward.
For sure. In your closing there, I was just thinking about this, but run your own race to me is having your own journey, but that journey and your goals might change along the journey. So my biggest goal after graduating was to make the WNBA. And right now, and I did that, I made my goal, but now in my 6th year pro, my biggest goal is to be the best player I can on the court and be happy wherever I choose to decide to sign or keep playing or not keep playing. I just want to be happy, and I want to keep playing if I love it. And so that's changed though. I thought that I wanted to be in the league, stick in the league, but different things happen, whether it's in my control or out of my control. But I think running your own race means you're literally on your own journey, and goals can change, and like dreams can change too, depending on where you're at and what you're doing. But just as long as you love it and like you put your whole heart into it, like I was talking about before, then like good things will happen and what's meant for you will come.
Fire. Townsville fire.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Boom. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention your off-court endeavors. So, give your company a little plug. I mean, this episode, and honestly, what I'm trying to build and what we're building here at Run Your Own Race isn't just, hey, if you play basketball or if you're a men's basketball player, listen to my story. If you're undrafted, listen to my story. It's literally sharing so many different perspectives, so many different worldviews. And obviously I, am very invested in women's basketball. We've had number 1 picks. We've had, your sister, and now you, an undrafted player who is literally continuing to carve out her own lane wherever you are in the world. So, there's a whole new perspective that hasn't been shared, but needs to be shared. So talk about, the company you work for and how you guys are continuing to uplift, women and women's sports.
Yes. So I've been working full time for a company called Parity for almost a year and a half, coming in on 2 years now. We give paid post opportunities to elite women athletes, as well as a lot of educational and different types of resources and opportunities, with the goal of getting money into the hands of women athletes, getting resources and education into the hands of women athletes. And this is professional and college as well with the new NIL rules. But this working for this company has been like really eye-opening for me because one, it's given me experience off the court and in the corporate world, which I never really thought about. So that's been awesome. It's exposing me to all of women's sports. I'm learning so much about what other sports are going through. My feed and timeline is all about like women's basketball, men's basketball. It's all basketball, but seeing like, winter sports, Paralympians and then so many different women doing incredible things, but learning about them, what they're going through. It's just been really awesome. And the company, the people I work for really put their money where their mouth is, as they hired me full time and quite a few other women athletes, even as we're still playing. And I think it's a testament to what women athletes can do. Maybe we need to get second jobs because we're not making what we should and what we should be valued at, but we also can do it, which is pretty incredible. Like the fact that I've been working 2 full-time jobs while overseas and while in Australia, like I'm very proud of myself. And I'll always say that, like, yeah. I think that I put a lot of effort into the basketball court, but off the court, I'm putting effort into my job as well to make the lives of women athletes better. So Parity is a great company. Check it out. If you're a woman athlete, go ahead, give us a follow. It's at Parity now. We offer career coaching and mentorship, lots of different webinars, financial literacy series. Check us out. Thanks for the plug, Deb.
I love it. You have to. And that's what this is for. So, again, we hope to see you have a successful, healthy season in Australia. Just know everyone on this side of the world loves and misses you during this holiday season. We love to see you back in the W, which I fully believe in. And regardless, obviously, the one thing that you said and we want for you is for you to be happy. So thank you for joining, Karlie Samuelson.
Thank you, Deb. Thanks for sharing these stories on your own race, baby.
Cue the outro music. I love it. That was awesome.